What's up, everyone? It's me, Von Bell, and I'm here to share my thoughts on Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Night. This one didn't really cause me too many problems, but was an enjoyable journey. Ender Lilies is a 2021 action role-playing platform game developed by AdGlobe and Livewire and published by Binary Haze Interactive, so it's been out for a bit, but I feel it's still in the range of my proper thoughts video. The game type itself is a 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania style. You can heavily compare it to other games like Hollow Knight, Blasphemous, etc. etc. So then, let's go! I'm going to start off with an attempt at a story synopsis with a disclaimer that I might be off on a few points. The story of this game is very From Software Souls-like in its development, with most of the story coming out in small bites of reading notes found in the game and reading the side text of all the items you acquire. This is what I think I unraveled in the tapestry of the story, and I'm sure those of you with more insight would tell me how very wrong I am in my comments. Preemptive apologies. The world takes place after the destruction wrought after a great war fought between the undying soldiers called the Blighted. Your character is a young girl who is called Lily. You quickly realize you are from a line of priestesses who have the power to purify and thusly end the immortality of the Blighted. You spend most of the game traveling around your ruined castle or city, I never quite figure out the scope, and purifying the soldiers who volunteer to become blighted themselves to fight immortality with immortality, since that always seems to work out in all the other stories. With the help of a mysterious knight, which seems to swing his sword in reaction to Lily covering her eyes and pretending the bad thing isn't there at all. The side monsters in the story, I believe, were caused by a deathly acidic rain that is constantly falling on this dumpster of a kingdom that views blighted people with animals. So if you think your weather is garbage all the time, maybe this will make you feel better? Raindrops keep falling on my head, but that doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red. Crying's not for me, 'cause I'm never gonna stop the rain by complaining, because I'm free. Nothing's worrying me. The visuals of the game are a mixed bag. The world is kind of a generic background stuff, which is satisfying but not wild. I have a gripe with figuring out what are platforms that can be walked on versus background art, and have had many moments of jumping from platform to platform and then just falling to start over because the thing wasn't an actual platform in the first place. The spell graphics were pretty enough, but still nothing to really write much about. I will put a disclaimer here that the combat visuals are very clear, precise, and crisp. There are no weird hits here or a question mark in how things operate, or maybe one or two notable exceptions centered around O of the Mad Knight. The monsters stay fresh for the majority of the game, which is refreshing and gets a gold star. There's a touch of repeats with extra health, but only a couple, and otherwise still unique enemies in every biome. I actually really love the music in this game. Let's not get mistaken, it was by no means anything for a soundtrack or unique, but the simplistic nature of it was perfect for this game. And what was there lined up perfectly with the desolation around you and how hopeless your situation feels. Tell me this doesn't instill some kind of doubt in what the heck you're trying to do at the moment. Makes me a little worried. It could be a little ho-humish if you put a lot of hours into this game, but ultimately you could just turn on your favorite bash music and slash away, since the reality is that there's not much in the combat sound cues you have to listen for. Moving in direction of actual gameplay, I think combat is the first point to talk about. I know I had a little learning curve and feel others will too in the stationary actions. I came off as games like Dead Cells, Hollow Knight, and Bloodstained Ritual Knight, where you can move as you swing, and when I jumped into here, I had a shock where attacking or spells just stick you in place wherever you are, even in the air. Now there are secret areas that utilize it, so I'm glad the developers use this elsewhere in their design, but the animation lock on a bad button click when you might be used to moving in and out of attacks will likely see you dying a bit. Especially with bosses, which makes hard memorizing attack patterns that much more of an impact in beating the game than just raw reflexes and skill. There's also zero death penalties in this game, with everything staying unlocked and levels gained. No souls or currency to be lost here, which makes this game a bit bare bones, relying instead of just finding new things on the map. There is an XP leveling system that goes up to level 100, but each level felt really insignificant in its gains and more of just being there to get you to kill the basic mobs that are littered in the map. Once you do get to 100, or just get tired of killing them, you can just run by them since there really isn't any significant drops of loot you can get from them, making speed runs and active just jump over everything and rush to the boss. Speaking of the bosses, this is the main spotlight in the game in my opinion. They're beautifully designed. Although very scripted and truthfully not very many of them, there are only like 10 in this game if you count the final boss having 2 potential forms. They all have a very unique mechanical challenges to figure out. What is cool here is they have a very Souls-like phase changes as you progress to fight, adding more moves and speed to them as you go. For the most part, I found their attacks to be well scripted with good visibility and a fair hitbox, which made dying much less frustrating and more I'll get you next run. The only attack that flat out made me rage was All's invisible claw attack, where he delays an attack that comes out as an instant giant X on your character that is a nightmare to dodge. The combat arenas were gorgeous and added a great ambiance to the fight. The final boss was my only gripe here, since they did the classic bright red room with red ads that shoot red bullets at you while causing big red shockwaves across the room. When the biggest difficulty is just seeing what's on the screen, it really makes me sigh. You get to pick from a couple of basic attacks by switching the main story spirits, but all the soldiers and citizens you save, which takes the form of small mini boss fights, become summoning spirits that act as your spells. There is a boatload of customization in this game in regards to combat skills, which is really cool. Really, I started feeling like Yo from Shaman King. You can make 2 combat sets of 2 spells with fast taps that go between them, giving you pretty much a 4 set of spells to link into fights. This system combined with a healthy selection of spirits gives some pretty good variety. There is a problem intrusive to the game, however, that there are only so many souls used to upgrade these spirits to be found, and no way, that I found at least, to recycle them if you make a mistake or want to make a change. This kind of soft locks you into a selection set once you burn your souls until you can get into a new game plus mode, so having a reset feature would have been appreciated for playing with different styles. Related to this is the rest of your gear system. You can equip a selection of relics, each of which takes a certain number of slot points to equip. You find these slots on the map, which further steps you into the explore everything mindset. I found a mild amount of intrigue here, but in truth many of these relics are just improved versions of each other, ranging from 1 to 4 points. For instance, there are 3 take less damage relics, with the only decision being how big of one you can have the points for. For context, there are 30 relics in the game, but only 7 distinctly different abilities across all 30, and that's if you count more damage on the ground, and more damage in the air as 3 different abilities. Never mind damage in water. You can stack these up for ultimate damage or defenses, but really at the end of the day, there is not a lot of game-changing relics here compared to other games in this genre such as Hollow Knight's Charms. To assist you in finding all these items and upgrades, the game features a map system that lights each room as gold when you uncover everything to be found. Is a room blue? Then it's still stuff somewhere. I usually would dislike this level of hand-holding, preferring a more if you want it you find it approach, but I can understand that there was enough power invested in finding these items to almost have to give you this assistance, since there is no coins or currency to buy things from a shop to help. I would also say this does help with the overall exploration as well, since the provided map is by far the biggest pain point of the game. Navigating and figuring out where you need to go to progress was my largest time sink, even more so than boss fights. Your only path indicators is a stick line that leads from one room to another, with the location of said path at best vaguely in the middle-ish of the room, or somewhat top leftish, etc., and sometimes even then is through some off-beaten path. These rooms are also drawn out with only rough outlines with literally no detail and vague size references that really make it hard to decipher. I spent more time lost in the ruined castle than fighting 3/4 of the bosses combined, I kept missing that one exit in a room full of other exits. I will mention that true to the genre, you gain a host of mobility powers as you play, such as the classic double jump, wall climbs, air dashes, grapple hooks, etc. that help you navigate. Ender Lilies does a fantastic job letting you use these abilities to quickly skip through older areas if you're trying to find what you missed in past rooms. It was very appreciated since you could just skip by what used to take 10 minutes in only 10 seconds of hooking across the map. I really think they miss an opportunity to let you use these abilities more in actual boss fights, however. There wasn't a single boss that really let you utilize any of these abilities other than the useful air dash and double jump for dodging purposes. I love combats that let you hook around or dash off walls from an ability or emergency oh shit plays, like what they did in Thundered Eldritch Edition. Tongue twister. The overall difficulty level was pretty lower middle tier. Navigating through the swarm of normal monsters, provided you are trying to clear things on your first run, was much harder than pretty much any of the bosses. Once you max your level out and just start dodging through them, the bosses are only slightly frustrating and won't hold up very long. As I mentioned before, the map is the biggest enemy you face in the initial playthrough. I want to make a special shout out to the New Game Plus mode, however. Instead of taking the easy $2 route of just slapping extra hit points and damage to everything and calling it a day, which a lot of games seem to do lately in the New Game Pluses, they actually added new abilities, upped speed rates, and some actually updated attack patterns that you never saw in your first play. I give an awesome salute to that effort and pray more game companies do that kind of thing in the New Game Pluses. It still didn't make the game that difficult though, seeing how I slapped down the New Game Plus in about 3 hours, with part of that just being lost on how to speedrun to the bosses. There is a host of things I need to add for full disclosure that exists and I never fully tried out, since I just called the baseline of this game as fairly easy. The developers flat out said, here you go, mod the game to whatever punishment you want and go nuts. There was a fully fleshed out slider for every single aspect of the game, from dictating your maximum level, to enemy max hit points, to damage, to turning off healing, and on and on and on. Also, a boss rush mode. As right here. I'm more of an achievement hunter, to which I did 100% Ender Lilies and less of a crank everything to the max as I have something to prove. But if you truly want a challenge for the sake of it, you could go wild here. It wouldn't really change my perspective of the difficulty of the game, since I just judge that off of what the enemies throw at you, not just how overtuned you can make them be. Overall, there isn't much more meat to talk about here. The cost of Ender Lilies Quietus of the Nights is $24.99 in US monies. Even doing a New Game Plus mode and goofing around with a few of the boss rush mode settings, I only really clocked around 30 hours, and probably a quarter of that was just being lost in the map and just running around collecting things to make the map gold. I would have a hard time swallowing what you get from the game for its cost, but you do get a dollar per hour ratio out of it for a fairly pretty game, so it's not completely out of the water, but could be hard to justify for some. My overall rating of this game will likely raise some eyebrows, but I give Ender Lilies a C to a C plus truthfully. Possibly a B minus if you enjoy a massive amount of customization in your game difficulties to make a nightmare setting. I enjoyed my playthrough, but it wasn't anything special or unique to me and felt lacking in play options, barring multiple runs to farm souls. It was not a bad game, it just wasn't really a standout one to me either. If you catch a sale on it, the game won't let you down. Let me know in the comments on what your thoughts were and if you agree/disagree with anything I had to say. You can always catch me on Twitch streaming a variety of games and chatting about various topics as Von Dinnerbell, and I have some other videos up too if you'd like to check out reviews on other games I've conquered somewhere around here. I mostly made videos of games a little bit newer, with this one being about the far end of the spectrum. If you would like to have a voice in my game selections, check out my Discord page linked down here, and join the community for access to listen your game suggestions and voting on others. But until next time everyone, dinner's done.